They can, I can hear you perfectly, yes.
Nice, good. Yeah, the preemptive ask.
Yeah, no, I'd figured you know your stuff when it comes to recording music and audiovisual stuff. So
Yeah, it's
anyway,
nice.
thank you for battling your way through Los Angeles traffic to get there on time. I hope it
Oh,
wasn't
of
too
course.
bad this morning for you.
It was actually pretty good. It was better than usual, so left a little
I,
earlier, so that kind of helped.
I've only one. I have been to California. I have driven through Los Angeles once. I think I spent most of my time going
Yeah,
on
like hope these brakes
seven
work.
lane freeways with no lane discipline. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
So, just as a side point, I can't see your chat feed. You can't see mine. So, if
Okay.
anybody has a question, just interrupt me, stop me in my tracks,
Okay,
because
cool.
I'm always keen for people to be able to, post a few questions, get involved in that kind of thing.
Nice. Yeah,
Um,
perfect.
so yes, you and I have not chatted before, but well, I've jammed to many of your drum beats.
Yeah,
You
me.
appeared on my For You page, and I was totally hooked with your love of odd time signatures and
Oh,
slightly spicy drumming.
heck yeah, thank you. Same with you. It's like just got to gravitate towards that stuff. So I think we've been mutuals for like since I've joined the app or for a long time. So it's cool to finally be able to chat and talk about it.
Uh, my pleasure. And I think it's I think people like to see some of the behind the scenes stuff, and I mean we'll get onto this. I think this is one of the bits that's slightly different from TikTok as it is on YouTube, because I
Hmm.
know you're on there as well. You have a ton of music on streaming as well. You are a busy guy.
Oh yeah, I mean, technically my first song that I released was in 2005. So I'm used to grinding. Like over half my life I've been like just writing and putting stuff out. So it's just, something that I just kind of have to do at this point.
But yep, I know that feeling. Once a muso and musician, always a muso musician. And
Yeah.
is your Twana stuff your main thing, or do you do session work and or play for other bands? And
For like my personal kind of endeavor with music, yeah, Twanner's my just my personal little go-to thing. Sometimes I invite musicians to play live with me, or just I have like coworkers here at where I work that just can throw a track my way really quick. I give them a chord progression, but I'm not so much anymore these days. Kind of being a drummer for other bands, I still do like mobile session stuff. If someone wants a drum track, they hit me up and I just kind of record. But yeah, I mean, ever since the pandemic, I haven't really been invited to kind of come back to play shows anymore. It's like yeah,
so, where is it that you work? Do you actually work in the studio that you're at?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm living in Orange County now. I got a pretty good job opportunity teaching at a pretty awesome like private music school in like South Orange County. So, been doing this for a few years now. I guess primarily I'm an educator. I've been teaching music for like over a decade. I've had countless students. Yeah, but it's funny because I don't really do educational stuff on TikTok, which I think would be cool. But I think I've already carved kind of a niche, which is just, songs, tunes, quick little jams. So if I
Yeah,
were to kind of do the education route, it would have to be a whole different, I think, ballpark to
yeah.
get into.
So, I mean, I've never been a tutor. My wife, she's a sound engineer. She actually started teaching music, but she got very frustrated with it was a course that wasn't particularly well done, and she struggled to enthuse students. So, I mean, that's an important thing. They've got to want to be there, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. We get the students that are just like they're just doing it because their parents are trying to figure something out for them. But it's always worth it for the handful of students that just want to like are lifers. Like you just know the lifers when certain kids just have that spark. Every week they come in with new songs. Every week they're just getting better. But even the kids that are just there to kind of goof off, it's just fun to kind of like just goof off. Maybe they'll find a passion, whatever music or even just whatever they like. It's just fun to interact and just make it fun. But yeah, I understand the struggle for sure of just like, oh great, this kid's gonna come in and we're just gonna like do nothing for an hour straight.
Yep, yep. So yeah, that she yeah, that's why she made the move over to live sound engineering. It's
Hmm.
handy being married to a sound engineer, I can tell you that. For one, I don't get into trouble when I buy things, as I have gear acquisition syndrome. So yeah, I'm sure you know exactly what that's about. So
Yeah.
tell me about your musical history. How and when did you get into music?
The whole story where I was like 4 years old and my parents saw that I would always get the pots and pans out kind of deal. And they're like, oh, he seems to want to like just bang on stuff. So then they got me lessons. So I've been a trained drummer since like 4 years old. Like in elementary school, I'd be in all the bands. Junior high, I was in the jazz band. High school, I was in marching band, jazz band, orchestra, music major. And that was all for percussion and drums. But we've always had like a family piano in the house. And I was always gravitating towards just kind of like making music on the piano, not necessarily wanting to be like trained on it because I love being trained on drums. I kind of used like my rhythmic kind of sense to really just play stuff on the piano and use the piano as like kind of more of a percussion because it is partly a percussion instrument, right? You're still kind of hitting it in a way. You're making it react to something, rhythmically. So I was always composing music kind of like on my own. Like I didn't know any music theory until college. But as a drummer, I was really just on the ball training with just wanting to become like a professional drummer. So it's kind of a weird duality that I grew up with. Like I said, until college when I really dove into music theory, and then trying to like properly, I guess, compose or write music, kind of thing.
Yeah, and you, I've seen a few videos where you've, I don't know, set a challenge, some particularly obnoxious time signature or something, and or somebody's challenged you with things, and even I mean, I'm not an immensely experienced music theorist, but I'm just like, oh no, I'll leave that to you, bro. That's fine.
Yeah, well, those videos are fun because like I kind of use the DAW as like I don't know how to explain it, but because in the DAW you can easily just cut up time signature chunks. Like okay, here's a 3/8 chunk, here's a 5/8 chunk, 2/8, 4/16, and you can just have it laid out, and then you loop it with a metronome, and the metronome just kind of like is like the robot who's like okay, I can really understand to play this right off the bat, any time signature change, tempo change. So I lie it out, I grid it out, and then I just kind of sit there, listen to how the metronome reacts to it, where like the heavy downbeats are, and then try to groove over it for a bit. I tend to try to groove with the weird time signature stuff in four, just to see how the click, every downbeat reacts kind of differently. And it gets to a point where I get really used to it, and then that's when like I take the MIDI and just kind of implant chords, trial and error. Like if it doesn't fit, oh, maybe it'll groove better if the chord hits the last eighth note. And then when it sounds interesting enough, I like make sure the kick pattern overlays over it in a groovy way, kind of have a good backbeat. But it's just a lot of experimenting with the DAW actually, just giving it information and like time signature and stuff like that.
Because I've been asked before how I jam in odd time signatures, and it's very much your approach. You loop it and you get your body used to it, and you then it's when you stop counting in your head and you're just in a groove of whatever it is that you're playing in, you've got it, and it's fascinating because you start from a rhythmical point of view and then overlay the other elements on it. The traditional ways, some pianist or guitarist will turn up with a riff and you then put the drums to it. I like doing things that way around, definitely. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's cool with
practice.
you. Like your approach is really cool. This is like a riff first approach. Like when someone listens to something at odd time, they shouldn't be putting on a math brain. In a sense, you'd be like, wow, this riff is pretty sick. Like, oh, it's in seven.
Yeah,
I always think time signature should be kind of a secondary thing.
yeah, yeah.
Obviously, primary for the person creating it, just so they know where the riff sits. But it's cool to have something odd time that just grooves, and then more of like after the fact, like, oh wow, it's a nine. That's interesting, kind of thing.
I'm 100% with you. And I've had pedants in my comment section going, actually, it's in 7/4, yeah. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's just funny because those kind of people, I'm not trying to like say anything, but kind of people that like are just, okay, let me count this thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, it's actually 7. Like, okay, buddy, like awesome. Like whatever helps you figure it out, you know?
Golf clap.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, it's because I've played with musicians who've been to like the foremost classical music conservatoire college um, and you know people super trained and jazz is still something that I struggle to get with. I love listening to, but you know the mechanics of it, which you need to drill in. So people who then get too caught up in the technical side of it, it is fascinating. You do need to learn some theory, but you can get by playing by ear and by feel. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I it's not a rule book. It's just a musical language. That's my theory when it comes to
No,
music.
totally. Because I'm a trained, I guess you would say, trained jazz drummer, just because I love the genre and I love that style. I always kind of liken it to like when you're starting out and you learn, let's say, rock music. Before you learn rock music, you kind of have to grind for a while with like the fundamentals. You have to listen to a lot of rock music. You have to actually enjoy the music. Kind of the same with jazz. So usually what happens is like, let's say we get a good solid rock drummer who now wants to move on to jazz. It's really kind of a heavy thing. Like, okay, we're starting from the ground up again. And that's usually kind of makes or breaks a lot of students kind of thing. Like if they really like it, then they'll be like, yeah, let's do it. Start from the ground up. Let's look at this triplet pattern exercise. Let's listen to the greats. Let's get a discographies kind of going on a Spotify. Not so much technical. I guess, yeah, technicals in the beginning, but it has to kind of coalesce with their already love for music to where they can pick up the jazz ear just by the fact that they like it and kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's parallels to a lot of because I am a punk rock and metal person primarily. Been veering off as I've been learning fingerstyle or improving my fingerstyle bass. I think there's a lot more in the jazz and R&B world for me to get out of my bass playing, for example, there. But sometimes you've got to remind people it's not a competition. It's not musical athletics.
Hmm.
It's more than just learning those weird patterns or intervals or modes. You've got to write a listenable piece of music in the end as well. You know.
Hmm. No, yeah, exactly.
So
I mean, it's like I was saying, to write a good piece of music, you kind of have to be an enjoyer of the world of the music you want to write, kind of thing. So if I'm writing a jazz piece, let's say, like I would dig in, I would make a playlist of like the style, the sound, the vibe, and not even try to like get music theory like brain with it. Just listen and just hear how the musicians engage with the ideas, and then I might jump in to some theory about it, but mostly just listening to that style. Yeah, and just kind of digging in just that music.
and I've been in the opposite situation in bands where they have zero musical training. I remember a conversation with it's a punk band, but it's one where you know every frigging bar was in a different time signature. But the guy writing it didn't know this. He was almost um, like a speech pattern. He would just put things together that worked in his head. And there was a section that he was like, "Okay, how do I play this?" And he's like, "It's 7.5 over 8." And I'm like, no, you can't have half a beat. It's it's like I don't know 14, 15 or something, or whatever it was. My mental arithmetic is terrible,
Mm.
and I was trying to teach him that, and he was all feel. But I was like, you do realize like all the math rockers are going to be like just like beside themselves at this section, and he's like, I don't care. I did it because it sounded cool. So
Yeah. No, I played in plenty of bands that weren't like trained or anything. That's what's great. I think what's great about being a drummer is that you are supplying way more like feel, right? The groove is the foundation kind of thing. And the fundamentals of drums kind of help with that, but at the like the end of the day, like you have to have some sort, you need to like develop a touch. You need to understand how like your tone affects the sound, how your timing affects the sound. And I find that to be way more valuable, even when playing with guys who are like trained and just play all the time, they still appreciate that way more than if you're like coming in with like a master's degree in like whatever jazz or just music. A lot
Yeah.
is lost if you're just kind of like you lose the sense that music is feel, is groove, is people, is like having a solid group kind of deal.
Yeah. And you will undoubtedly know this to your core, but being able to in a live situation, particularly being able to read other musicians here, react,
Hmm.
drive as the rhythm section. That's the thing I've missed the most 'cause since lockdown. I've not had that many live shows. Got one coming up in November,
Oh,
finally.
nice.
But yeah, it's the duet function on here that has been, the methadone to my heroin addiction of live music playing.
Hmm.
So how you can only do that by playing with people, I guess. And I'm sure
Yeah, I mean, it definitely
students as well.
scratches the same itch almost. Like, oh, cool. It's more of like instant gratification rather than like you play the show, you get the feedback. I guess it's more instant live because you're actually like you're reacting to their reactions real time. But it kind of scratches the same itch where you see you perform, you enjoy what you're performing to or with or and just yeah, kind of deal watching people react that way.
And I've had a listen to your own material as well, and you've previewed it on TikTok,
Hmm.
and it's very much in the vaporwave, chill wave side of things, which I have a
Yeah.
small introduction into because I was in a very, very MySpace era hipster band sessioning on keyboards in around
Nice.
2008. Yeah. But that was my introduction into pop, and it's not necessarily a swear word, to a
Hmm.
rocker like me. So yeah,
Yeah, it's cool.
tell me more about that.
I had a MySpace too. Like, you probably did the same thing. Started with MySpace, moved on to the next thing, moved on to the next thing. Facebook. Before there were Facebook artists, you just like shill it to your friends. Then you
Yep.
could make an artist page and then try to shill it to them, and then yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry. But like what I write, like basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
The
funny because yeah, I started with this kind of style was like maybe 2008 as well, and I used MySpace to kind of upload music. I was using like GarageBand at the time on a 2007 MacBook, and for some reason the GarageBand back then was I don't know, I wouldn't say better, but it was way more raw. You can really go into like the functions of like compression and all that stuff. So I would make stuff on there. Um, as far as like genre wise, yeah, I would say like the chill synth, kind of vaporwave, kind of sound. Because I've always loved video game music. I've always loved old '80s kind of music. I love synthesizers. I even when I was younger, I would just nerd out on synthesizers. So I got a load of those VSTs.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm just as bad.
Yeah, it's fun though.
My favorite ones, maybe because I'm a little older, but my first gaming console was a Commodore 64, and the SID chip became just in the chiptune side of
Hmm.
things.
Yeah.
I have about five different emulations of that. Um, but I love taking those noises and not necessarily just doing the nostalgia thing, but just playing around with it.
Hmm.
Uh, and my only other introduction into, I'm going to have to remember the guy's name now. You will know instantly. But the drummer behind Clowncore.
Yeah, Lewis Cole. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. A friend of mine said, "Mike, I don't understand this music. You might," and play me some of the videos that they did on, with him
Hmm.
playing in a Portaloo, and I was just like, "How? This is awesome! I can't play this. This is all why?" And yeah,
Yeah.
watch
No,
it.
I've studied the art of Lewis Cole pretty extensively. I think I could write a dissertation on like just his approach and his way of. He's like one of the few drummers or just artists that I like. I'm sure you have your few too, where you're just like obsessed. You want to like dig in hard. You want to study. You want to like rewind phrases. You want to like think about it a bit deeper. And he's definitely one of them. Yeah, his
Because
approach to music is insane.
he's like an annoyingly good musician. Not only at drums, I've seen him do other stuff.
Mm.
He's it's like even as a non-drummer, I go, that looks. He makes it look easy.
Mm.
and actually, this is something that I observed from your playing as well. Unlike a lot of rock drummers who are playing from the upper body and hefting them,
Mm.
it's just like there's just sprinkling his drumsticks across the kit, and it's just coming out awesome. I'm sorry, that's a very layman's explanation, but
No,
I'm
that's a
sure you
great
know what I'm talking
explanation.
about.
Yeah, because he has really good finger control. His finger control is absolutely like out of this world. And that comes from his jazz background, I think, because a lot of those jazz right cymbal, fast right cymbal, really is mostly fingers and wrists. So using his arms to be kind of like bombastic, but really the fingers and like the wrist do a lot of that quick interplay stuff.
He is on TikTok, and
Mm.
he's throwing up some beats without backing tracks, and I did attempt one jam on bass. Uh, it's yeah, just it's so fast.
Yeah, really. I know. I saw that. I saw that video actually. I remember that. It was awesome. It
No,
was
did
sick.
oh,
Yeah, it was
thank you,
sick.
thank you,
It was sick. Very daunting, you know. Very daunting to like duet with kind of insanity, but you definitely pulled it off. It was awesome.
thank you, thank you very much. And I think I mean this right. This is a nice segue because one of the things that I found on here is I found musicians who are better than me, and it's a perfect opportunity to jam with them. That's a very good way of stretching your skills.
Mm.
And I like to pay it back in the other direction by getting newer people to don't care about your sound quality, just come and jam on my track, have some fun. That's
Yeah.
one aspect that I've adored about TikTok.
No, it's awesome. I love playing along to your videos. I actually have to get on. I haven't done any duets in a while. I got to start doing that again. I think what it is for me is that like yeah, the sound quality. I really want to like dig into getting my. I saw your last video about how you do it, and I kind of want to do it like that. I think the thing that's stopping
Yeah,
me is like the video editing. So I heard you mentioned DaVinci Resolve. That's one thing I wanted to kind of look into because the video editing for me is all on the phone. So there's nothing, and it's all free apps. So I haven't really tried the computer app thing. So
yeah, and that was just born out of necessity from the latency issues that I had. Yeah, I mean, you will have templates for your favorite things in whatever door you're using. That's how I work. And yeah, half an hour.
mhm.
And it's a trade-off between, maybe how many takes do you do when you're using the duet function to, I can record this in my usual door environment and get cozy with that. Plus, it's nice. The other advantage I like is being able to mix the original audio,
Totally.
especially if I'm taking some singer-songwriter singing in their bathroom. I can make some subtle EQ changes and whatnot just to get it sounding good. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what I want to do because when I do duets with this microphone, it's like I do a really great take, and then I'm like, oh, I hit the hi hat too hard, and it clipped the entire thing. Like I did
yeah,
a wonderful
yeah,
take finally, then I shoot lower, but it does help my dynamic playing because when you play quiet with this mic, it actually can pick it up pretty good. But then another thing is like, oh, I did a great take, and then it's like off by like a half a second. So it's just really frustrating.
yeah.
Sometimes it takes an hour just to do like a 15-second duet. So your way of doing it
So
is something I want to get into.
well, I would heartily recommend it. If only it looks like a lot of hard work. It isn't. Even the video editing is super fast. Other than lining up your performance, so it looks like a duet. But
Hmm.
you and I are used to staring at waveforms, so yeah,
No,
it's as
totally.
literal as that. And then and sometimes I go a little bit fancy with I don't know what else in the name of trying to attract more viewers on TikTok, but yeah,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter usually.
No,
So yeah,
that's,
try it.
yeah, definitely will.
And so I mean that leads me on to because like you say, like me, us old boys, we've been there from MySpace. We've got
Hmm.
SoundClouds, we've got Bandcamps, we've done, as you're saying, spamming our friends and family on Facebook through to YouTube, which I've tried and failed miserably at. I've even deleted it. Same with my Instagram account. I've a face for radio, so that was never going to work. But what have your experiences been about TikTok as opposed to all those other places?
I mean, I like TikTok a lot. I mean, at first, obviously, I was a little hesitant because of the dumb obvious things like, oh, it's a dancing app, it's a lip syncing app, but it's really not. But it's But I did. I mean, I really enjoy TikTok because I found so many artists that I just love. Like I'm sure you have one, or a lot of people do, where it's like a Spotify playlist, like TikTok finds. Like here are artists that I really just want to start diving into more, just because I saw their videos, and I have a pretty big list. But I really enjoy it. I mean, I think the algorithm is. I mean, because I spend a decent amount of time on here, so I think the algorithm really knows what I want to see. So I mean, because I came from Instagram and I was really trying to do the Instagram video stuff before they kind of made it video centric.
Yeah,
And it was really hard because it was back when like I was doing it when it was like only like what is it, 10-second videos on Instagram,
yeah,
really buggy the way it loads. You have to like click on it to hear it. And it was a struggle just to get people to like, hey, listen to me on Instagram. Like, oh, listen to you on Instagram. That, and then it got better. Then TikTok was just like, oh dang, this is what I want. I want just videos. I want audio. I want that kind of thing. So, and I really
and
think, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
sorry, carry. No, 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 you first.
No, I don't know. I was gonna say.
Because I did a short promo for this chat, and I was like, oh, I wonder if Twan has put his music on, or is it on TikTok? Because he's on streaming platforms, and sure enough, there you are. So that's a really handy thing. If people start using your audio, that's golden.
Yeah, it's awesome. I use DistroKid, so it goes right to TikTok, and you can like pick what time you want the audio to start, so it's not going to get into like a random little quiet spot.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's been really neat. I mean, it seems like TikTok seems to be pushing the fact that there are a lot of artists that want to like use the platform in a really positive way for them, and I think they're really, I don't know, they seem to be doing a good job with it, in my opinion.
yeah. And I've read that they're also thinking about becoming their own digital distribution platform as well, just so
Yeah,
you know,
that could be interesting.
um, just to close the gap on that. But yeah, my experiences were the same, and my first view on TikTok was just like, oh, I am too old for this. I'm not going to be doing any dancing. And I used to have lots of footage I'd captured at band rehearsals. You just video yourself so you'd remember how to play the thing. Inevitably, you'd catch some horsing around. I thought, yeah, maybe they'd be cool videos. No. But yes, seeing musicians hacking, I don't know if that's the right word, but using the duet function, I was just like, game on, game on. This
Yeah,
is
yeah. I think the first artist that really like I saw was like J Rod. That I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a drummer who's like killing it with these duets. Like maybe this is actually a pretty awesome app because like this is something that I would love to do. Like you wouldn't see that on Instagram randomly at that time. Maybe now because they're a copycat, but you wouldn't just scroll upon someone like J Rod and be like, whoa, this guy's like doing covers. He's playing with people, and that's what seeing people like that was. I was like, whoa, I'll give it a shot. Sounds fun.
yeah, and I'm glad you did because I'm forever on the hunt for drummers to jam to because I can program beats, but it's not the same as the authentic real thing.
Heck yeah. I need to also get on just doing grooves on here. I've been like on a kick of just making quick ideas, drum to it, post it. I've been like on a grind with that for a while, but I should probably go back to doing some like just drums, making it sound good on TikTok for duets, and even just duetting more. I think that'd be fun to get into a little bit
Yeah.
more
Oh,
these days.
a- absolutely. I mean, there's nothing I love more than finding somebody that's just done it like a singer-songwriter and then leaping on it and giving it full production, and asking for forgiveness, not permission. Just like, hey, I did a thing. I'd say I'd have about a 90% hit rate of them going, yeah, this is awesome. But
Yeah. Like you, I think you're mutuals with Ellison as well, right?
correct, yes.
Yeah, she kind of like that. Like she has her awesome like guitar work, and then like you would jump on, or people would jump on to kind of make like a production out of it, which is really interesting for this app.
And she's another great example of why I say to people, think of TikTok as a sketch pad, as a behind the scenes thing, because she's covers her entire journey from deciding to write music to her lessons and her writing sessions and the studio sessions and the success she's had
Oh
streaming them on
yeah.
Spotify. And it's very inspirational. I'm quite jealous because I'm like, I've got tons of music and I've not released it yet. Come on, Michael, get your act together.
This is awesome because she seems so personable too. Like you watch her videos, and you're like, wow, I want to like listen more because she seems really like honest and kind of pure with her music, which I think is also a big thing for artists on here because they can be pure and honest without worrying about too many trolls, I guess. But it seems like the people find each other on here that just really opens up other artists to just be themselves a bit more, which is really cool.
Yeah, and the big thing that I'd love to encourage, and that's, I know many people bemoan the algorithm and going, oh, I've only got 100 views on my video. I'm just like, look, I was pleased when I got 50 followers, so just chill, just keep at it.
No,
But
yeah, totally.
it's interest based. It's not your social network, which is why it works better than say Facebook because your second cousin is not going to care. Like,
No,
oh,
yeah.
I've got a 13/8 jam, and like, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's also fun because like sometimes I make a video going into it knowing like this is going to be for a select few people that are really going to like. I already know it. Like I'm not going to expect to blow up over this weird avant-garde drum thing, which is also cool because like you still find your super tight little niche on here as well. Like, oh, you use this hashtag. This hashtag is like something I love, whether it could be like clowncore or like Lewis Cole hashtag.
Totally.
Yeah.
If I a middle-aged, yet another middle-aged bald dude with a beard playing guitar online, yeah, okay. If I can amass an audience, find a niche, then yeah, absolutely, anybody can.
Yeah, totally. That's one of the things I really like because like I mean this app is so huge. There's a lot of different orbits that you can gravitate towards. People can gravitate towards,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
And I may well hound you one day because I did a series where I took some duets and turned them into full songs and released them on Bandcamp for free. Try to use different people each time,
Hmm.
paid for proper mixing and mastering and commissioned artwork, all about showcasing other people. But I'm going to start that up again. So if I find a jam that I think needs your sprinkle of awesome drumming on, I will come and hassle you.
No, yeah, totally. I remember that. I remember I actually commented saying that I'd love to do this. I mean, it was a really interesting idea. So yeah, I'm totally down.
It's it because I think it's only fair as well because I covered all the costs involved. I figured if I'm grabbing these people's time, it's not
Hmm.
fair to say, can you like send me $50 for the mixing? No,
Yeah,
no, no.
that's
But
really cool. It's really cool of you to
uh,
do that. Yeah.
well, I have a day job working in IT as a programmer.
Mm.
Trey uncool. This is why I'm still a musician. But it affords me, some disposable money to throw at things like this. But it was also just you have to become the project manager, the TM. Just like, can you send me the files, please? Or you've exported it in 44K. I need it in 438.
Hmm.
Quite. And then just you will know this the whole promotional cycle that you go through. Oh, damn! I've got to make the Bandcamp page. Oh my God, what colors do I need? The artwork, the shout outs, so doing that once a month. Mind you, you've
Wow.
done quite a few singles yourself recently, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like what you have is like a streamlined process. I have a pretty streamlined process when it comes to this kind of stuff because the older we get, the quicker we want to be able to like not be frustrated in any in any step of the process. But yeah, I usually depends on the project. If I have a really I guess it comes down to the mixing for me. Like mixing is the largest process that it's for some reason doesn't seem to get any less frustrating at times. But when it comes to like getting the drum set up, the ideas out, always seems to get quicker and quicker. But I don't know. I think as every project, I have a different approach to how I would want the mix to sound. Where I just can't really get 100% streamlined process with that aspect. But yeah, I try to do one a month. Try to get the idea recorded in like a week. Try to mix within 2 weeks. Send it to. I'm on a little label called Headphone Music, and they kind of handle mastering
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
distro. So Yeah,
I th-
totally.
that, that's. I mean, it, the discipline, like you say, to just make sure you get through all those stages is something I've seen so many bands I've been involved with struggle, and I'm like, you're getting sidelined by the last 5% worth of detail. Just
Mm.
get past that and just finish the project. You will actually gain an awful lot more from completing it. And from like some prog rock album I was playing on, I'm in a studio and I'm playing a sound bowl trying to jam to the sounds of a mating elk, and I was like, oh my god, what am I doing? You've gone too far here. Let's go back to the bass and guitar and the piano here
Yeah,
and work
totally.
it out, and we'll sprinkle the rest of it was like, no, I need to sound it like a glacier cracking and purple mist coming up. Oh god, like screw you
Yeah.
and your synesthesia. We're paying for studio time, you know.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah.
So, but I will definitely tap you up. I'll because the one thing I struggle to train the algorithm to show me material that I want. I get
Mm.
far too much of. I don't know if you know of him, Jeremy Clarkson, TV presenter of Top Gear,
Okay.
and
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
generally obnoxious TV personality. And it's like, oh, right, yeah, I know I'm British, white, and middle aged. Does not mean I like Jeremy Clarkson, but
Uh,
I don't know how easy do you find that material? Or is it
um.
just now you've got it sweet on the algorithm?
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess it could be a little more narrow because I do get like a decent amount of stuff where I have to like. Maybe because I don't do the not interested button. Apparently, you're supposed to do the not interested button, and it's
Doesn't
supposed to
work.
help, but I haven't done that. I'm not really even sure. I guess maybe because I'm like commenting a lot, liking a lot.
I think that's, and it's the interaction aspect of it. Again, another thing that I encourage any new TikTokers is just like say hello, just comment, ask a question. There is no such thing as that ask a question. Anybody who's experienced will be thrilled to answer something, even if they
No,
think it's
totally.
simple. Just get
Yeah.
on it and
Yeah,
start the
definitely.
conversation.
No, of course.
I
That's a
mean,
huge thing.
I mean, what do your students think? Have they spied you on TikTok and going, no, sir, look, it's you
Oh
playing Foundation?
yeah. Yeah, it's like some of the older students find me on Instagram or TikTok. They definitely think it's cool. I mean, there's a few students that also have their own like page that I go to and also interact with, which is fun. Because I strictly have just artist page. My personal page, I don't really have a personal like anything. It's just artist. So, students still just get a full view of just, oh, it's just my drum teacher doing drum stuff or music stuff. So it's fun like that because they come in, and I sometimes get students that are like, "Oh, I just stumbled upon you. I didn't know it was you," and I was like, "Whoa, I can't believe it," kind of thing. So, and it's so ingrained in their lives that they're not really asking questions about it. It's just like, "Oh, of course, a musician has a TikTok." Like, it's not
Yeah.
like, "Oh my goodness, like you have a TikTok?" Like that's kind of weird.
There's like people over the age of 21 on TikTok. What's going on? No, that's fine. It's reached the rest of the population now. But I have a lot
Yeah.
of trouble convincing a lot of my peers in the local scenes here to get on it. I was just like, don't be afraid.
Yeah, just give it. I mean, like people that I try to get them to do it, they're like, "Oh yeah, I like it. It seems fun, but maybe next week or maybe next month I'll jump on it." Be like,
Man,
"Oh, you're kind of
yeah,
missing
yeah.
out. Like you're a little bit missing out because it's a little addicting when you have people who actually like what you do outside of your little bubble."
Absolutely. As stoic as we may be, we're musicians and we love an audience.
No,
It's as
yeah,
simple as that.
no, exactly.
Let's be honest. And I and it's entertainment, but don't be afraid of being a little bit rock and roll or putting yourself out there. Let your imagination run wild. Sure, there are dissenters who will come along, but more often than not, they get shot down really quickly, particularly within the music community. So
I think a big thing
I've
about it, for some of my friends, it's the fact that they don't like performing. Like they want to they kind of want to just like push their music in a sense where it's like they just want Spotify traffic. They don't really care to be in front of the camera with an instrument or singing or even performing what the song is. And I think that's a hurdle, a pretty good hurdle to get over. Like I understand that hurdle because it is definitely a shell you have to break to like kind of be that vulnerable to where you don't have to hide behind Spotify. Only like, oh, they're gonna listen to it and they're gonna make their own judgment away from me, kind of thing. I think that's a
For
pretty big
me,
problem for people.
it wasn't as bad a leap. But then I've been playing in live bands for 20 years,
No, totally.
and it's a different thing. But still, the performance aspect, I always it's a simple thing of like I hate it when I turn up and see a band and they're just staring at their feet and they just recreate everything and there's no dynamics on stage. So I've always
Mm.
known there's an entertainment factor to it in some form. Obviously, it can go a bit too cheesy, mentioning no names with Ozzy
Mm.
Osbourne, hate him, but that translates on here. So yes, I have some nice lighting and I make sure the camera angle's suitable and or there's some snazzy visuals or small things or just the simple fact of seeing somebody play is part of what people engage with, I think sometimes.
Because yeah, I think you and I are the same in this, where we were both probably side guys for a really long time. Just like the drummer, or just the bass player, or just the guitar player. But I think in this age, that really honestly helps us a lot because now we can perform. We're just performers. We like kind of doing that, so we don't really have an ego in a sense where to anyone's going to break or anything. But it also gives us a chance to like, hey, we write music too. So I've had the thing where like, oh, weren't you the drummer in that band? I didn't know you wrote music and did all this. Like, yeah, it's kind of like the rise of the side guys kind of thing with this
It's
app.
the unsung heroes.
Yeah, the unsung heroes for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you still play live much
I
currently?
I played a lot like before because I'm also married as well. I have a kid, so I don't get much of any too much opportunities to play live. But I did a bunch, and I do miss it a lot. And I do play live with my own music. It's just such it's a big endeavor because like I use backing tracks. I have to make sure all the musicians are just on point with the backing track. Have a handful of rehearsals, so it's a process that I have to like gear myself to do.
Actually, that's reminded me. You may well know of this artist already, but they're a drummer. It's called Colossal Squid, but they use drum triggers hooked up to some synths and a laptop and some drum pads, and just it's the entire performance is from them triggering things on their drum kit.
That's awesome.
Very, very much in your sphere, genre-wise, of what you've released as well. So yeah, there's my musical recommendation to everybody today. Colossal
Nice.
Squid.
I'll look that up for sure.
Yeah, I've seen them live in some dingy DIY venue, and I was just like, I was annoyed how good it was. As I was like, yeah, it's just going to be lame. It's just got a bass drum hooked up to a Moog. Yeah, okay, wow. And it was actually really immaculately well planned out. So
I've been to a
yeah,
few shows like that where just your expectations are so low, but then you're just ramped up to the huge surprise of just great music. It's a good feeling.
yes, my wife and I are potentially the two worst audience members you will ever get. Because I'll go in there go like, oh, they've got the thinner series amp, and oh, they've got a knockoff pedal there, and oh, he's put his thumb around the top of the fret, and she's like, oh, they haven't flown the speakers properly, the front power
Yeah.
engineer's not in the right place. Yeah, we're terrible. I mean, we
Oh
always enjoy
man.
the show, of course, but we're just at the back, like that with a drink, bitching. Yeah,
Yeah, that's always something you got to think of as a performer though. Those people that are, that are there that are very high. The high bar is set for anyone. So it's good to do.
it is. But then I most of the gigs I play are DIY punk venues, where the floor is sticky, the toilets don't work, and there's a suspicious smell from the bar. You're lucky if you've got a vocal PA, but that music snobbery just disappears when it's time just to make a noise and then go for it. But my wife's experienced it at the other end of the scale, where it's like a stadium level gig, and the session musicians in the artist backing band are complaining because the cymbals needs to be raised by 6 dB for 1.5K, and she's like, oh my god, just how precious are you being? She's a
Yeah.
fairly plain speaking engineer, so
Yeah, I mean, I've
she's
toured. I've toured a lot, and some of the best sound engineers and I gel because I'm like, hey, just if I can hear this, that's fine. Like, I don't try to like make it. I'm not as neurotic about it. Like, oh gosh, we need a little bit. I need a little bit more of that kick drum. Need more rhythm guitar. Because they like usually sound engineers work best when they're not pressured as much. Like they
Oh
know
yeah.
what you like. You can give them a general idea of like what you want to hear, and then they'll just make it sound good, and then it's just having a good time.
And there's an element of being able to like get just that live experience. Like I've said, sometimes it's been such a horrible sound that I'm stood next to my amp, so it's not projecting into my head, so I can't hear anything. And I'm stood really close to the drum, and all I can hear is his crash cymbal and his snare. But that's my on stage mix, and we still have a great show.
Yeah,
So
yeah, totally,
experience.
exactly.
Oh, actually, that reminds me. My wife has asked me to ask any drummers that I meet, why do you love crash cymbals so much, and why do you hit them so hard?
Oh, I actually hate crash cymbals, so. But I
Yeah,
know why. I know why because, and I always this is like the biggest lesson for students that I always say. Like I know the crash cymbal is exciting. I know it's bright, it's loud, it's right next to your face, but the audience doesn't really need to hear it that loud. And also, what I always say, just like in a scientific sense, cymbals only can hit a certain threshold of loudness before before you start damaging the cymbal up here.
yeah.
Because cymbals are not designed to break. They're not designed. Oh, I broke a crash. I got to buy another one. They're breaking because you're like hammering it above the threshold, and and it just snaps. And I always say, yeah, like the meat and potatoes, kick drum, snare drum. If you're gonna do a crash cymbal beat, you just have to gently hit it, and it just balances. It balances more.
I think if she was there, she would hug you right now for that.
Even hi hat too. Like even hi hat, it's the loudest instrument on the drum set, so you do not need to try to pull sound from it. Yeah, like not necessarily they're trying to pull sound from it, but they just think like, oh, it's got to be like, oh, you need the arm going. People who play like that are professional at it because they're actually looking like they're hitting hard, but they're not hitting hard. That's one
Yeah,
thing that we couldn't talk about. Like you see like Travis Barker and stuff, but if you watch his
yeah.
hands, he's not really engaging the stick that much. He's like his just looks kind of more theatrical. But yeah, I hate crash cymbals.
Okay, so I'll report back, and so yeah, you probably just won yourself another fan just for that fact alone. But the same it runs through so many bits of music. Is learning subtleties, space, when not to play is just as important about when to play.
No, yeah, exactly.
And my philosophy is always in recording or live is serve the song, do what you got to do for the song. So her theory is always just because they're young and excited drummers who need to be heard, and they're just in competition with the lead guitarist or something like that. And it's like, no, that's just inexperience.
It's an experience thing, and also being able to like either record yourself and honestly listen back, and if all you hear is a crash cymbal, then maybe I try to record my students. Be like, okay, play that again. I'm going to record it, even on my phone, and all you're going to hear are the cymbals. You need to like dial it back. Cause I need to hear like the kick and snare balance, kind of, and even live too. I mean, live the cymbals cut. The cymbals are like the high elevated instrument on stage, and you hit that thing, it's gonna, the whole place is gonna hear it. Like you don't have to worry about going too crazy with it.
Absolutely. And if there are any other young musicians watching, wear ear protection all the time.
Oh yeah.
That's especially if you're playing stupid punk bands with inexperienced drummers who do spam this cymbal. I have tinnitus in one of my ears thanks to that.
I mean, there are cymbals that are big enough and can sound less loud by hitting hard on it. Like they have like the Peisty Rude series, to where if you're hitting that thing hard, it's more of a dull loudness. So it's not so much like shrill, like in your face. You just have to be smart about it, I guess.
I mean, I am not experienced in the world of drum equipment. The only thing that ever stood out to me as just like what was the Zybell.
Oh, like the little Zilbel thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, yeah. If that's all you need, then fine. But it
It has
it
a
just
it
seems
has a
like a ridiculous thing.
yeah. I think it was Primus, the drummer of Primus, kind of started that trend of the Zilbel, which is
Yeah,
cool
so
because he
it's
uses it very tastefully. Like every, he doesn't like hammer on it forever. He hits it on very precise points of the song. So, you know, being a drummer is still, there's still a bit of thought behind behind playing drums.
Oh, absolutely. And one band I play in, the drummer has a very textural kit, two
Hmm.
snares, but for different, things. His layout of cymbals is what I would say quite well thought out for the tone and volume and projection of it.
Hmm.
It's an acoustic instrument, so yes, you can play with those textures like that. I mean, I would not know how to tune a drum for love nor money, but you can, even a cheap drum kit, I imagine you can get to sound passable
Hmm.
through understanding those fundamentals.
Totally.
So yeah, yes.
Cool.
Same applies in the guitar world as well. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know how you've seen it. You've turned up to a show and then there's somebody with 6 grand's worth of rack mounted stuff, and then they just play a four to the floor. Same in the guitar world. Some hero with a £3,500 Gibson. I'm just like,
Mm.
yeah,
No, yeah, it's just loud. It's just loud. You can have like the similar tone on a much different guitar. Yeah, I'm not so much. I don't know much about the guitar world, but I know like I've heard that you're supposed to play at a medium volume, depending on like your tone, I guess. But it doesn't just come with blaring the
no,
amp and
because I made that mistake. There's my old live rig.
nice,
2 amps, two cabs, tone
nice.
henge. You turn up to some small cafe bar where there's barely 10 meters between you and the door, and you visibly see the audience go, "Ah, ah." Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe we should have smaller amps, guys.
nice.
So
Cool.
anyway, we've been at this for nearly an hour, but and it's my turn to cook this evening, so I am going to have to go
Cool.
downstairs. I think we're having fajitas this evening,
Ooh,
homemade
nice.
as well. My own
There we
recipe,
go.
salsa and fajita seasoning.
Nice.
But I'm going to try and do the rounds of talking to everybody once every other month or something. So I will most definitely come and catch up with you sometime again.
Cool.
And please do come and duet uh, some tracks, and I'll see about us doing a song together at some point.
That
Might
sounds
well. How's
perfect.
that sound?
That sounds perfect.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of your morning and your day, and yeah, I shall see you around on TikTok
Awesome.
sometime soon.
Cool. All right. See you.
See you later.